Welcome to Book Selfie. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to buy your books to read and listen. It is the site where readers find the niftiest books, awesomest stories from the coolest authors. It is the place that books a lot.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 9th successful Books on Fire episode. We are absolutely ecstatic. And we definitely want to acknowledge that we did not do this alone. We did this together with our authors who are kind enough to show their support. And of course, I can't pass without mentioning the reinforcements. I'm going to call it reinforcements that we get from Jenny Rosenblum, who I'm sorry to say that she's not available today, but next week, I'm sure she will be available. I wanted to thank her also. And as always, I'd like to point out that this is a Book Selfie production, and my name is Gurhan, and I am one of the founders of Book Selfie. So, just to make one thing clear, I say that all the time on every single episode, not to brag. I say that to indicate that we, including me and everybody else within this organization, are 100% vested into our establishment and 100% involved with our objectives to better the book industry. Again, we've been in the book industry for like 30 years. So just putting this out and making everything clear so that everybody has an understanding. So today, we are going to have a little different show than usual. We're going to have 2 awesome authors, as you can see, yes, and we will have a book review. And guess what? The book review will be presented by our infamous AI personality, Paige. Stay tuned. So we're going to start with fiction, which is a thriller and suspense, followed with a nonfiction, which is self-help. And we are going to have our lovely Paige giving us her take on one of our author's book. Okay. That's all the schedule. So let's start, shall we? And I'm looking at 2 authors here. Of course, I go like this. I'm seeing them like, damn, they are both from Austin, Texas. And I live in the middle. And one of them lives like 15, 20 minutes away from this way. And the other one about maybe an hour, right? How far are you away from the domain, Leslie?
45 minutes, I'd say.
There you go, 45 minutes. So I'm like in the middle. And in fact, the book that we're going to review, she's a Texan. She lives about 15 minutes away from here. So it's all Texan show. Coincidence. Okay, we're going to start with Leslie Piggott and her book, Forsaken Talents. Hello, Leslie.
Hello.
How are we doing today? All right, let's show it up. Yes. You have the floor. Sell us your book, will you?
Okay. So Forsaken Talents, as you can see, so this is the second book in my series. Last month when I was on, we talked about Chasing the Edge. This was the intro to the series. So some of the same characters are back. The main character, Carrie Turnlisle, that's the name of the series. Her friend Genevieve, who's a detective, and Genevieve's partner Alex, and Bob, who's a crime scene investigator. In this one, it starts off with a young woman who's in a car accident, and it seems like she loses control of her ability to function. She can see what's happening, but she can't move. And her car goes in front of a semi and she is killed. And her father is a wealthy member of the community and demands that they look into it more, because no one was in the car with her, so no one knows what happened. The truck driver reports that he thought she was crying when he saw her go in front of him. But that doesn't really make sense. And people wonder, like, did she commit suicide? Was she upset about something? The father's like, no, you got to find out what's going on. There's more to this story. And my journalist, Carrie, has written the initial story reporting, you know, there was an accident, and he gets mad at her for saying that it was an accident. He says it's not. Someone did this to her. And she has to, well, she chooses to look into it more because she doesn't like that he's kind of trashing her article, you know. So as she starts to look into it more, someone else dies, and it looks accidental again. And she's trying to connect the dots. She thinks there's more to it. They're not accidents. Somebody's doing something.
So what about the setting? Is it Texas?
No, it's not Texas. I made up a town in New York. I'm not really sure why I picked New York, but it's maybe the weather's nicer there.
Or maybe the crime rate is higher there.
Maybe. So yeah, it's just that it started out as a college town in the first book. It still is, you know. So this one is not about the college, but it's, you learn a little bit more about what's in the town, and some of the history of the town. Like there's a festival where people, all the local businesses have a contest. They paint little ceramic ducks that they put out in front of their business, and whoever gets the most votes, you know, there's a prize and the festival and whatever. And so
this town is all made up.
Yes. So some of it's based on different things that I've experienced in traveling. Like there was a town in Vermont that we visited once that they had these large ceramic bears that were out in front of all of their businesses, and they all decorated them, painted them different, you know, and it was a competition for their fall festival for the community, you know. And so it's like, that's kind of fun. Like I'll do ducks instead,
Yes,
you know.
that's good. That's good.
So yeah, so it's in New York. The first 3 books in the series are in New York. The 4th one that comes out in January will be in Wisconsin. So
okay. I'm certainly hoping that we would sell that on Book Selfie, right?
Yeah. And I actually just got the proof yesterday. So it's,
oh,
you know,
look at that. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's fun to see how the characters are developing, and
yes.
My characters are pretty young. They're like young millennial demographic, you know. So which is younger than I am. So
I think everybody's younger than this group here.
So so it's kind of fun to pretend to be, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Can you pick up your book again? So let's just show it.
Yeah.
Yes. Because yeah, here you go. That's awesome.
So there's a clue actually to the story on the cover for anyone that likes to look for, I guess they call them like Easter eggs, you know, and different things. So you can see there's a broken branch, and you probably can't see on Zoom because of the glare and whatever, but there is a little bit of red right here. The tree is bleeding.
Okay. So that's a
clue.
That's the clue. That's a hint. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So all you have to do is go to bookselfie.com and search for Forsaken Talents, or search for, of course, Leslie Piggott, right? I said that right, right?
Yeah.
Right? And buy it and get your thrills and dive into the world of suspense. That's simple. We make everything simple. Great. Thank you very much, Leslie. So our next author, Kile, is sitting, and on my screen, he's in the bottom because we have 3 people. He is a successful businessman with quite a few books and more to come. Today, he is going to talk about his book titled, let me get this, right here, Open the Door, The Path to Living the Good Life. You are definitely from Texas. So how are things going, Kris?
Good. So why is it that I'm definitely from Texas?
It says the path to living the good life.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, Texas is definitely part of that pursuit for me anyway, but different strokes, different folks, obviously.
Yes.
What I'm talking about can be done in places outside of Texas also, just to be clear.
Okay, great. Yes, sell us your book. Come on.
Yeah, this is part of a series that ultimately had multiple books. It's number 2. The first one is called "Follow Me," which was the phrase that Jesus used when he was on earth and he was calling his disciples. Very often he would say to them, "Follow me." And so in that first book, we really unpack what is that talking about. And then this is the second in the series, which is called "Open the Door." It refers to a scripture reference where Jesus says he's knocking on, or the scripture saying Jesus is knocking on the door and inviting us in. And it's up to us as to whether we open the door or not to come in and dine with him. Dining or sup, in King James English, sup with him. So that's obviously metaphorical, but it's pretty hard to counter the reality that Jesus was the most influential person in the history of the world, just based on people who say they try to adhere to his teachings. Mm-hmm. Certainly the greatest philosopher in the history of the world. So what we're unpacking in this book is not theology so much. It's about practices, orientations, and disciplines that you can learn and apply that will greatly improve the quality of your life and your connection, because that's what Jesus himself said. He came to give people more than an abundant life. That was his game. Life to the full versus being stolen from, being destroyed, being hurt, being harmed, which is very prevalent in the world. He's offering an alternative path, but it requires living it. So this goes deeper, and we get into things like what does it mean to be mentored by Jesus through his actions, through his words, through his influence in the spirit in the world today? What does that mean? And we really get into, as the subtitle says, the pursuit of happiness. That's, I'm sitting here in Texas, which is in America, and that is a theoretical obsession of the American way, the pursuit of happiness. Well, what did Jesus mean when he was talking about pursuing happiness? It's actually quite different than it is in today's affluent culture that we live in, where most people think pursuing happiness is to have enough money to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. Most people who have that money will tell you that did not bring them happiness, but maybe it did for some. But
now you're telling me, Kris, I came to America in 1982. Now you're telling me.
Yeah, well, certainly, yeah, I'm not going to get sidetracked. I could go on and on and on. But one of the things that made America such an appealing place is because its principles were rooted in respect for God, in God we trust, and the whole dynamic that Jesus came to make more clear to people in terms of how it has a practical and pragmatic impact on the quality of their life. So we also talk about living the good life. Most people in today's world are interested in living the good life, being a good person. What did Jesus mean when he said he came to help us live the good life? What did he mean, and how do we pull it, and how did he say we pull that off? So this is really, again, practices, disciplines, how to actually have these things happen according to his orientation and what he's sharing. Being a good person, what does it mean to be a good person? So everything Jesus taught was radically counterintuitive. It's not what the culture says it is. It's usually very counterintuitive to what the culture says. So if we just go with the flow of what the zeitgeist of the culture in which we live does, it generally disappoints. But if people really want to root these into the quality of their life, that's what we get into in this book in a very practical and pragmatic way. One of the things he talks about how to achieve love and freedom through really embracing your current reality. When our current reality sucks, usually we want to just get out of it, avoid it, get away from it. And he says, really, the path is through if you want to have love and freedom. So what does that mean? Well, we get into the details in the book. Law of sowing and reaping. Most people have heard about that, sowing and reaping. The radical element of that, according to Jesus, is that if you don't like what you're reaping in life, take a look at what you're sowing. And he gets into great detail. That's so confounding to the modern mind. It's like, I didn't cause this, because a victim mindset is so prevalent in our culture. So how can I own my life, even though we all come up against difficult circumstances that we weren't necessarily the author of these circumstances? So we really get into that because it's a discipline you can use to get to where you want to go. It's a very pragmatic way to orient yourself to what's happening in your life, even if it's a disaster or if it's good or somewhere in between. Also, we covered forgiveness some in the first book. We go at it again because it's so critical. And we talk about how you can embrace forgiveness as the path to freedom. And most people don't think about forgiveness as being a direct path to freedom, but that's what Jesus said, and he talked about it. So all these and many more things we get into. So if you're really interested in having life to the full, I'm saying he knew what he was talking about, and you ought to check it out. And this book's oriented around that from an application point of view. Every chapter has a set of practices you can practice at the end of it. So you can really start getting into the groove of trying these things on and seeing how they work.
Awesome. And of course, all you have to do is just go to bookselfie.com, search for Open the Door. This is Kris Kile's book, and buy it. And one more thing that I have to mention, we made the cover.
Yeah, I love the color. Yeah, when I started working with Gerhan, we changed the title and we changed the cover, and I really like the new ones.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Kris. Thank you. Okay, now it is time to talk to our lovely AI personality, Paige, to hear her book review. We will be reviewing another Texan author's book, Myra McIlvain's Waters Plantation. Paige is online and ready, to give us her awesome insight of the book. Hello, Paige. It's nice to see you. Are you ready for your inquisition?
Yes, I am. Go ahead and ask away.
So, can you give us a little synopsis of the book, please?
Waters Plantation by Myra McIlvain is a fictional account that captures the changing trend of late 1800s America. Expanding from after the Civil War and through the Reconstruction era, the story of Texan plantation owner Albert Waters is a thoughtful reflection of life at a time when uncertainty over the freedom of enslaved people, economic advancements, labor issues, political confusion, and shifts in mentality had the country divided.
Oh, so the country divided. Nice. I know Myra writes really cool historical fiction, specifically about Texas.
Surely. Myra's expressive and descriptive writing gives the story its heart. She infuses each chapter with distinct characters and actual life instances that teleport the reader into a classical setting responsible for shaping the country's future. In particular, the nuances of daily happenings scattered throughout the pages and the genuine conversations between characters highlight not only life in the 19th century, but also the sentiments of people, especially in terms of personal and working relationships.
Wow. I get the feeling that this book is indeed a gem, and it is a must-read. Well, I know Myra does a thorough research and has the ability to weave all those historical facts into the story extremely well. So, what about the cover? What's your take on the cover, Paige?
The cover of Waters Plantation features a drawing of the estate with traditional elements, such as a horse-drawn chart adding to its nostalgic factor. I especially like how the mansion gives a hint of grandeur to the setting. At the same time, surrounded by the green of the plantation, a sense of enclosure and claustrophobia oozes from the cover. It perfectly validates the feeling of being cut off from the world, an emotion many characters in the book struggle with for various reasons.
Nice. I have the book here. Let's see. And yes, that is exactly the first impression that you get from the cover. let me get my, let's put it this way. Yes, yes, nicely prepared indeed. I also wanted to read these, this one and the little stickers, let's see. This one right here says, first place, Texas authors, historical fiction family. And this one right here, it says Fan or Pencraft Awards, literary excellence, winner, runner-up 2019. This is just awesome. So now that we know Myra has won two awards, at least that we know, as stickers. My next question to you is, let's talk about the main character. Okay, can you give us a little feedback on that, please?
I thought you'd never ask. Actually, the main protagonist, Albert Waters, is a fantastic character study. A man with dreams and aspirations, but he isn't without faults. On the one hand, wanting to free enslaved people, he agrees to enter a marriage of convenience. Simultaneously, his desires lead him to have an illegitimate child, Tobias. Now, that is actually the center of the story, and it begins with contention as Toby, a day away from leaving for medical college, discovers that he is half black, placing a question mark on his identity and how he perceives himself. This interaction forms the crux of the novel as the now strained relationship between father and son sits heavy on Albert, whose life goes through another alteration with the arrival of past love Amelia.
Uh-huh. I knew Myra wouldn't leave that story with one predicament, so there are a bunch of predicaments in this book. Please go ahead and give us a little bit more insight on this Amelia person. This is quite curious, actually.
Oh, yes. Myra indeed does a good job by introducing Amelia. So, the story arc that follows Albert and Amelia is beautiful. Amelia comes as a breath of fresh air for Albert, but you will have to read the book to see how Amelia affects Albert's life. And again, I must say, Myra did an excellent job integrating Amelia into the story.
Okay, so how about some of the other characters? Like, tell us about the supporting characters, please.
Myra is a true historian who uses her supporting characters to give a holistic viewpoint. Whether it's wide-eyed Ezra, a young lad traveling with Albert, discovering what life is outside the confines of sheltered plantation living, or the exchanges between Albert and his cooperative members, like Miss Elizabeth. Myra creates occasions that are as insightful about the period as they are entertaining and enriching to the story. When you are reading the book, you can relate to her characters and feel their sorrows and joys, giving the story an almost realistic aura. Moreover, these interactions help form a necessary bridge between the various elements of the main plot, that of Albert coming to terms with multiple internal and external developments, resulting in a story that runs smoothly, taking the reader on a journey through time and location without any bumps on the road.
Okay, so why don't you give us the verdict on this book? Okay?
Absolutely. Waters Plantation is an excellent, well-researched, and detailed novel that will appeal to history lovers and those wanting to know how America reformed after the Civil War. Myra's earlier foray into non-fictional makes the book authentic when it comes to facts. However, this doesn't prevent her from building a plot that incorporates human emotions, giving them equal, if not more, weightage. These changing relationships are the soul of the story. Enjoyable and, at times, revealing, Waters Plantation will keep you up at night. Transfixed by the impact of the period's history, but also wanting to know how Albert and his coming-of-age saga full of predicaments finally conclude.
Awesome. So, give us a rating for this book out of 5 stars. Go ahead.
I will definitely give this book 5 stars and highly recommend it. It is a must-read.
It is a must read. Awesome. So I would like to thank you for your review, as I am sure the readers will purchase and enjoy the book. And to purchase the book, all you have to do is to go to bookselfie.com and search Waters Plantation. Again, Waters is plural. That's the name, last name of the person. Waters Plantation. And while you're at it, take a look at Myra's other books. Really, those are wonderful books. I mean, she is an excellent writer. And purchase them all, actually. Okay, so we'll see you on the next episode, on the next review. And until then, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it again at the end of this show. Read a book, will you? Yeah, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? She's alive, Well, this is indeed the end of our show today. And if you're an author, go to bookselfie.com and scroll down all the way down to the footer, where you will see the button that says Join Books on Fire. Click that button, fill out that simple form, and welcome to the show. In the meantime, keep in mind that you can always find our older episodes of Books on Fire on YouTube and on our site, of course, where you can also listen to our podcasts on all major channels such as Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple, and then the rest. Until the next show, read a book, will you? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Book Selfie. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to buy your books to read and listen. It is the site where readers find the niftiest books, awesomest stories from the coolest authors. It is the place that books a lot